So, okay. So, what made you go with the handlebar mustache thing?
Nah, just this was the thing I could do that made me look the most like a bad guy.
Yeah. It wasn't because you had to get fit for a new mask or anything?
No, I
No.
honestly I was trying to line up and it got crooked.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, well, and then I was like, I shaved it in here, and then I was like, well, I guess I'll just keep this. Tiffany hates it, which is another plus.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Did you finish the story mission this week?
yeah, I played up quite a bit. I was off sick today. I took a COVID test yesterday,
Yeah.
negative,
Oh.
but I've got my warlock like outside of a raid and dungeon. It's everything else is done.
I got to my hunter and titan are both when plus twos drop, they drop 1570. And I haven't touched a warlock.
Gotcha.
It's still sitting there. Just don't have time. After I get these other ones done, I'll move over to it.
I mean, honestly, warlocks are probably the least important to get done.
For me,
Which ones?
anyways.
I like what you did on the text chat there. Looks good with our glimmer.
Oh,
whenever we do our you'll have to put our bets or whatever, or like what the bet's gonna be after we announce it, and like another text box above it.
okay. I'll just figure out how to do it later.
Just add another text thing in OBS.
Okay.
It'll be called like text 2 or something like that.
I named that one Gambling Corner, so. Yeah, okay.
All right, I'm gonna start pushing in some of these discords here.
Yeah, so. And then, just like.
Oh. Oh, no, never mind. Cool. Oh.
Mm-hmm.
As expected, he just leaves us. Punk.
Oh.
Better off without him.
I thought I was in a text chat, but apparently I joined another voice chat in a different Discord.
Mm-hmm. Likely story.
Mm-hmm.
Great year on this. 2022. Monster Ultra Sunrise.
It's one of my personal favorites.
Not a sponsor. Oh, it's like carbonated, energized Tang is what it is like to me. Remember Tang?
It's a kick in the glass.
Mm. This is my. I got to drive for 4 hours up to see my parents at night. Drink. Hit a gas station, grab one of them, send some corn nuts, get on the road.
Your mom's a sweet lady.
She's an angel. Especially when I have to blow up her toilet at 1 a.m. with corn nuts and Monster. We're not live yet, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Oh man.
Thank you.
So Chad, you both get that like and dislike in there.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Chad, that's incorrect because you're the only one with the sword, I think.
I still haven't seen a single pulse or linear fusion from that dungeon.
Oh.
Not a single one. Like, it's still grayed out on my collections.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten the pulse yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, but how many times have you cleared the dungeon?
Get good, scrubs.
I don't know.
This guy. But you are right. At least I do have the exotic.
Yeah, I don't want to hear about your. You're not allowed to talk about RNG for like at least. You can't talk about it the rest of this season or next season.
Out of here. It's not a raid exotic or nothing.
Yeah,
Why do you care?
You can't talk about it until you're like 15 clears in on the next raid without the exotic. That's when you can complain about RNG.
No, that's no. If that's the case, then you guys can't use chatted RNG for anything until that happens again.
No, we got the copyright.
Well, it's not.
We can use it when we want.
It's not. It's not true anymore. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Are we ready to let the dogs out?
Whenever Chad gets done.
Fuck.
Ooh,
Sorry.
let the dogs out.
I can't put story again because it's already in there.
Are you trying to figure out the like?
I'm trying to figure out either. I'm like thinking on both sides, and
Why don't you make your like my current RNG?
No,
Yeah, that works. That works out.
because I still haven't gotten the linear or the pulse rifle.
That's just because you had the sword drop. That's the only reason.
I'm just saying, there's only one exotic weapon I don't have.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So Tiffany dropped in Kroger after work today.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, run in the liquor store and see if they had anything left over from yesterday. No, and it was a long shot. But I guess they got that. What was it that I sent in the
Piggyback rye.
Yeah. So you've had that before?
Yeah.
It's half decent.
Yeah. The initial time I drank it was a little spicy up front and like a weird aftertaste at the end. But
right
after I let it sit for a while, after I opened it, like you open it and let it breathe or whatever, it got way better. So that upfront bitterness got taken away and actually had like a decent. You can definitely taste the rye at the end, that bread flavor.
Right.
Yeah.
I picked up a 1.5, a Buffalo Trace, and I'm pretty sure I got a Blanton's Store Select, like the Ashland Beverage Center.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
There.
140. I think he's gonna sell it to me for.
My goodness, that's why that.
I don't.
That's why that's secondary, so it's nothing like.
Right. I don't have. All I have is that Blanton's Gold. I don't have just a normal bottle to open to drink here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm definitely not I'm not opening that plant in school until we win a title or make it to the SEC championship game.
I believe in you. But I'm good. I got my like and dislike in there now.
Maybe Final
Okay.
Four. Maybe Final Four. You
What
think Final
about-
Four is?
What about when Kentucky goes 10-2 and beats Tennessee?
Depends on how much I've had before we get to the end of that game. Because I hate Tennessee.
Yeah.
If you like Tennessee, we don't even want you to listen to this podcast. So
Wow. Please disregard that statement.
I hate how catchy that damn song is.
I know. Rocky Top.
Yep.
It's even worse whenever you get beat 56-9 and you get to hear it, 45 times at the game.
Oh, wait, do you have Bill Simmons texts come up on your phone too? I mean, tweets?
Maybe.
Because your phone just went off
Maybe I
the same
do.
time as I watched it.
Yeah, maybe I do.
Yep.
I hate it. I used to love Bill Simmons, and lately I've grown to hate Bill Simmons. So
So you just hate listening?
the mighty have fallen. Pretty much at this point.
Yeah.
Until basketball's over.
I mean, he's just because the Celtics in the finals.
Man, I hate the Celtics.
All right, this is going off the rails.
Yeah.
All right. Let me clear my... In the words of DJ Cole, let me clear my throat, and then we'll get this started.
Man, Ryan's dying over there.
Nah, I'm just trying to get this voice to sound good, dog.
He's got to get an hour's worth of it up.
Yeah.
I'm clicking the button. We are live for episode 64 of the Conqueror's Corner podcast. Today is Thursday, June 9th, 2022. And I'm the COVID negative Destiny bad boy, NotRyanFox, here with my fire team, who all of you CCBs know by now. Jared.
Yeah, we got a good episode in store for y'all. Air effectiveness, a little bit of Iron Banner, a little bit of like just straight up numbers talk, and some Eververse stuff that I'm sure that the Silver Fox is pretty interested in.
And the chronicler himself, chadocero.
Very excited for some developments here with lore. We won't be talking about it until the next week when some other stuff happens for Zavala, but I am happy to see that maybe Ryan will be even half interested in my boy Zavala.
And remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget that you can take us on the road via Spotify, iTunes, and other podcast services. Make sure you subscribe and unsubscribe and then resubscribe. Click the bell, turn on notifications, yada, yada, yada. Follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Send us a bunch of friend requests. Hippie blessed us with the calculus level TWAB this week. But you'll hear more about that in just a minute. So sit back, listen to the intro music from our favorite link, who you can find on Twitter at WeekOfTimeG.
All right, everyone. This week in Destiny, there's Zavala mission to go do, and you get some backstory on him. And this weekend also Trial starts back up. Before we get into that, we have a little statement here about airborne effectiveness, and I will just say AE from now on. So, Destiny is extremely fluid and expressive airborne movement, but that movement must be balanced against grounded players lest it become oppressive. Playing in the air is no longer slap-on Icarus grip. So that's basically Bungie's straight up statement about playing in the air. That's what's going on. So there's two levels of air effectiveness that they pointed out with primary weapons. The first one is at 30. So at 30, the in-air accuracy is similar to that of season 17 Icarus grip, which is last season. I mean, pre-season 17, which is season 16. So that's a 0.48 degrees accuracy cone right now at 30 AE. And at last season, it was at 0.47 degrees accuracy cone penalty. So depending on how far you away from your target, your headshot can potentially miss or hit depending on how big the accuracy cone is by the time the range hits the enemy's helmet. If you want your accuracy in the air to be perfectly accurate, so there's no accuracy penalty, the bullet goes exactly where you're aiming, you got to get AE up to 60. So if you all was listening about a little over a month ago, that's the one thing I took away from that huge TWAB they put out, is that you get to 60 AE stat and your bullets are going to go straight for primary weapons. Bungie has a detailed explanation in the works for AE interactions with aim assist and accuracy coming later, but that is it's a lot of numbers, a lot of talk, that they are taking their time to give us some accurate numbers and accurate descriptions of what's going on in game. There will also be a mid-update season update shipping with Solstice later this season, which will include some buffs to weapon subfamilies, special weapons not getting enough ammo in PvP, so like kind of looking at Forerunner there, and tuning for oppressive exotics. Before we go on any farther, do you all have any questions about AE, and what have you even like tried to build into it, or you just ignored it completely and just kept your boots on the ground?
I am a boots on the ground type of player. I don't think I jump and shoot whatsoever. Occasionally, I will, if I'm doing something, I might throw on like the heat rises and, do it that way. But most of the time, I'm more of a, let's not be cowards and jump up in the air and shoot at each other. Let's fight each other like men, honorably duel each other. But, everybody else doesn't play that way.
I am very much in line with Ryan.
Okay.
I'm a ground player. Air players annoy me. But that's only because previously they were just oppressive, and it was bad. Like, hunters would be here, and I would just be like, there's red, and then I'm dead. And I'm like,
where were they at?
Why? And then Jared's just like, bro, stop playing on controller. You can just flick over to him. And I'm like, bruh, that's not the point. I can look up anytime I want, Jared. All I'm saying
about
is
Shatter Dive. Good.
But yeah, I haven't tested it because I don't play in the air. So I know the numbers. I know what you got to do to get to 60 with certain things, but I haven't messed with it because I don't really do it. If I do it, I will do it on a warlock with heat rises and eat a grenade and do some stuff and rain down the pain. But you also become a sitting duck. But that it'll be really for just testing purposes.
Do you have anything in mind about oppressive exotic that needs to get nerfed? And whenever I read that, I didn't have anything come to mind. I was like, is there exotic right now that is too good?
Besides like Gambit in general, or PvP, I think the only Yallarhorn's the only thing that's really annoying the hell out of me right now. But that's just, because even if it doesn't kill you, the wolf packs will.
Yeah.
But I mean, if they're tying it into the conversation they were having about in-air accuracy, I don't know. If it's tied to that same conversation, maybe a hand cannon. I don't think it is. Yallarhorn's the only guess I have.
The only thing that came to mind is Witherhoard and how much it got used in Rift.
Yeah, dude, that was plaguing me last week in Banana. Just Ryan and I had multiple games of worth of conversations where the entire game we're just bashing Witherhoard the whole time, and we're playing with old Greg, and he's like using Witherhoard the whole time.
Yeah. I felt a little bit bad about that.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, playing solo,
So,
that's what I feel like I had to do, though. To shut down a lane and try
Yeah.
to help my teammates.
Twilight Garrison. That one's been controversial
Yeah,
this past week.
It was a little controversial. And some hate got spewed out for
Bunch
no
of
reason.
nerds.
All right, so Trials is also returning tomorrow, June the 10th, with a new armor set and 2 new weapons. The 2 new weapons is the first one is Forgiveness, and that's a sidearm, and the second one is Burden of Guilt, which is a fusion rifle. Those 2 weapons do not get me excited about Trials whatsoever. I would say the armor, has some positives. If you're a hunter and you want to look like a monkey, you can go do that. And I think the Titan looks like a ram, right? I think that's a ram. And then a Warlock, they're kind of just leaning into the floofy. So
They should have just gave us a unicorn horn. Just been done with it.
They already did with the Daito armor set from Prophecy.
Yeah.
Just made us a bunch of Care Bears. Heart. But I don't know, man. Could they have picked 2 worst weapon types to make Jared play Trials this season? Sidearm and fusion rifle?
No, they couldn't have.
Whenever I read that. Listen, man, I know you're a sidearm hater, but I've been using a lot of Trespasser this past week. Dude, that sidearm is sweet. I know you mentioned that. I know Jared mentioned like it's the one sidearm he actually likes, like last episode or the one before. But it's very good, and I don't have the catalyst unlocked yet. I'm at like 40% or something on it. But man, I'm excited to get that catalyst because I really, really, really like that gun.
Chad, any plans of jumping in Trials to try to get that fusion rifle? Are you gonna or just what?
I'll have to relook at the D2 Gunsmith just to see what rolls I can put on it, but still really not really. I'd still rather get a good reads. But again, I haven't looked at the perks on it just yet because I don't play Trials as much as you guys do. So I haven't put enough time into it. If I see some roll that's really spicy, the weekend it's there, I might put in some time. Yeah. Or if it ends up falling on like a freelance weekend, I'll be like, ooh, okay, got to go for it.
I'm just going to quickly look at it here. It is an adaptive frame. And then elemental capacitor is in the 3rd column, which is the first time I ever remember that happening. And then high impact reserves is in the last column.
I think the play would be to unlock it the week it's available and then wait for like the freelance when they do the double XP for Trials, and then play a good bit that weekend and then use all the engrams you get to focus towards it. So if you are a PvE player that just despises Trials, that's probably your best option, in my opinion.
All right. Next up, we got some numbers to talk about, and that is with the kind of like beginning of the season event that we had that Bungie didn't really announce until like the season was going, and that was we needed to complete 20
million
nightmare containments. So over 1.6 million players completed at least one nightmare containment. So that's pretty good number for a live service game that the first 2 weeks of the season they had 1.6 million people play. And then Guardians averaged about 13.8 nightmare containments per character. And then one dedicated player completed 390 containments over the course of the event, and in the first 24 hours, one Guardian completed 78 nightmare containments. So a lot of stuff happened in that. A lot of grinding happened at the beginning. I think everybody's trying to hurry up and get their Red Border Beloveds and Ostringers done so they can start leveling them up.
Can't wait for everybody to get those.
That's pretty much all you're going to see in Trials if you're playing that this weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they got what is it? They got Scorched to help them complete Red Border weapons real fast.
Scorched was a nightmare this week, man. God, I hate that game mode.
So to commemorate this us accomplishing this, there's a free emblem out there. You go bungie.net/redeem and put the code T67JXYPH6. And it's a pretty cool looking emblem for the most part. Again, Bungie just giving out emblems for free instead of, putting them away to earn in game. Like, wouldn't it be better if you completed 50 nightmare containments, you got this emblem?
Yeah, you hit the triumph and it gave it to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the logical thing to do.
Yeah. Now, we're going to go back into the other verse here, and everybody knows our Silver Fox here loves spending his hard-earned money on cosmetics. And they put a twist on some of the cosmetics this time around. For class items, they paired them up with the exotic for that class. So the hunters, to pair with Mass of Bacchus, they have the Cloak of Bacchus, and it adds a stasis effect to the cloak's collar. And then the Titan gets the Mark of the Falling Star to pair with Caress of the Falling Star, and it adds an arc effect to the mark. And then Bond of Battle Harmony paired with Mantle of Battle Harmony adds an arc effect to the bottom of the bond. So, Foxhead, did you pony up and buy any of these?
No, I'm sure I will. It's just I used all my silver that I had in the bank and the $20 that I put in at the start of the season. So the next time I add, I'll definitely get the Titan, the Curus of the Falling Star. Mantle of Battle Harmony. I hardly ever use that exotic. It's not one that really I ever use. But I'm sure I'll buy it just because it's like a warlock exotic. So I like the idea, but I don't understand if they're gonna do a chess piece. Why don't they do Phoenix Protocol, which is probably the most used exotic chess piece, or do Wings of Sacred Dawn since they had a solar season? Why didn't they put that one in with it? I just don't understand their rationale. But it's a cool idea, so I'm not gonna poo-poo on it.
Yeah. My thoughts is that Arc 3.0 is going to be awesome with Battle Harmony, Mantle of Harmony, and then Crest of Falling Star is still the meta Titan exotic, so it should be around for a long time, and they have went a long time now without him nerfing it, so I imagine it's going to stay around. So again, I think the Titan one is the best if I was going to buy one. Backwards, it really isn't used that much anymore after how Void 3.0, how strong it was, and Solar 3.0, that stasis kind of just got left behind for most hunters. But maybe that'll change in Trials Awakening, because that's still usually the fastest super.
Yeah, I definitely I got the Curious one off the rip. When I saw it, I'm like, is that Falling Star related? It looks cool, it looks neat. And then I saw that there was actually an interaction with it. And I'm like, this is as close to an exotic class item as they've gotten so far in D2. The fact that it has an exotic pairing is neat. It's still not the same as the D1 counterparts, I rock those still on my characters. I left them on there when we moved over to D2. But it's a cool start. And since they're class items and ornaments, you just slap them on whatever ornament you're using, and it's not going to impact your character whatsoever. So I'm hoping to see more. Hoping to see more cooler options, like Ryan said. They could have picked something different than Battle Harmony, and it would have been more fun. Like he said, probably a solar related thing, like a Phoenix or something like that. Because
Mhm.
I don't know how they would do it with like the wings on Sacred Dawn, because it'd be like more wings on your shoulder. But like the Phoenix one, it could have been like a Phoenix egg, and then when you're wearing it with the matching thing, it's just like flames coming
It
off of
just
it.
gives you like
Could have been neat.
fire flames, like
Yeah.
flaming,
Could have been cool.
like feathers or something.
There is a
I
warlock class item that is a flame. Because that's the one I unlock
yeah.
as an ornament. I don't remember the name of it because I'm barely on it.
I wish that, you know, Chad talked about like the exotic like class items and that kind of stuff. I wish that instead of having the exotic, or not the exotic, but the seasonal weapon ornaments, I wish that they made those like exotic ornaments, or tie that on the second reset of each. You could choose like the Vanguard. You know, like Vanguard is tied to Titan, and Hunter is tied to Crucible, or however you want to do it. And then I think that would be a neat change, because how often are you really changing the weapon skin on those seasonal weapons? None of them have been good enough to really use a whole lot. But if you could customize your character with it, then I think that it would be a lot cooler, in my opinion.
There's one thing we didn't really talk about, the RNG shader that was released with Guardian Games and how popular it is, how it changes, rotates the collars, and it was for Bright Dust. And I was thinking back and I was like, that's probably the biggest mistake Bungie ever made, was making that shader available for Bright Dust. If they put that for
Right.
$5 or $10 worth of silver, I think they would have.
Well, what was the name of that one? You remember? I'm sure I have it, but I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I bought it. I put it on.
I'll look it up while we're talking.
I put it on Fatebringer because the Fatebringer, like a little light that you always see behind it, it will change as you're using it. So
Yeah.
all right, last thing in the TWAB here is the Bungie store has added another way for
Was it
Guardians to show off their
was
love
that
and pride.
photo finish?
Yeah,
Photo
but-
finish.
Photo
I
finish,
believe.
yeah.
Yep.
Sorry to cut you off,
You're
man. My
fine.
bad.
So Bungie added a new Pride pin, and it's the Pride, Bungie's Pride 2.0 collectible, and you also get a new emblem in game to show off for your Bungie Inclusion Club, and show your pride for this month. All right, that's pretty much it for the TWAB, and
Have you guys purchased the Pride or the Black Lives Matter or any of those pins?
no, I've never purchased a single pin from Bungie. I just not really a pin person.
Yeah, I don't have a place to. I don't really care for like little trinkets or things. I'll donate the hands down for emblems and things because it's not a physical thing. But for like a pin, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll pay for not getting the pin but getting the other stuff.
Right. I used to have a Kentucky hat that had the tricorn pin that I had purchased right here, but I think I went through the metal detector flying to Vegas, and through there, and it's the tricorn pin is no longer with us. So rest in peace.
Poor guy.
All right, now it's time for 3 likes and dislikes. This segment coming around for the third week now, and I'll go ahead and lead us off. Right, and I'll just lead us off with my first like, and that's going to be the filling out of all the stasis weapons. Like in the dungeon weapons breakdown we're about to go over, there's 2 stasis weapons that we haven't had before, and not to mention there's the stasis bow out there is a world drop, and they're filling out with the different archetypes. It's not like just a single stasis fusion rifle now. Now we're gonna have 3 total now in this season. So it's just really nice to be able to monochromatic build into whatever stasis comes back around, as whenever they gets its next rework, because it's probably coming at some point.
Which one, Ryan? All right, I
Go
spoke
ahead,
first.
dog.
I broke.
You go ahead.
All right, so I very much like the rotating raids and dungeons a lot. I haven't run a lot of dungeons with these fellers because we've had life stuff going on, so we're not always on at the same time. But my work homies and other people, I've been able to get them to do the older dungeons because they drop a pinnacle. And so I'm like, hey man, let's drop into prophecy this week. It's oh okay, yeah. So is it dropping a pinnacle? Yeah, that's why I'm asking, man. So getting them in there on prophecy. Last week it was a pit of heresy. That was fun getting back in there and smashing. I think it's Zolmak. And then just seeing those on the rotation. And then I think this week is also Deepstone.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So it's like, maybe
Yep.
maybe get a run in there for funsies if we can get raids in. I know that the newest raid is still priority because it has pinnacles, but I do like having a reason to go back. And it's been fun getting some people in on the older stuff when they only have like 1 or 0 clears on them. So it's cool to get people in there.
Yeah, that Deepstone Crypt probably still has the best in class for PvE, the slug shotgun, the heritage, and then the sniper rifle succession. Like I think those are still the best ones. So.
And I could still use the what is it, like auto loading Vorpal on the sniper or something. I think I have like reconstruction, recombination, so maybe like reconstruction Vorpal on that sniper I could use. But hey man, that slug is, that gun, that raid, that's a good raid because you can run it in like an hour pretty well. So I would love to get us into like a Friday night raid or something similar, because we seem to be like, we can always get 4, we can usually get 5, but we never have 6. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. So if you want to team up with us and become one of our regulars, we'd love to have you. So just hit us up on Twitter at Destiny CC Pod, or just comment on the YouTube video here. My like is going to be Iron Banner changes. Iron Banner, in my opinion, up until last week was very stale. It's been the same thing for years, more or less. And I did not look forward to Iron Banner other than early in the season. It was a way to get 4 extra pinnacles. And realistically, I would try to get 2 or 3 of the pinnacles, because you would get the one with like abilities or whatever, and that one would take absolutely forever to do. We'll talk more about Iron Banner later. We had a question in the mailbag about Iron Banner. And I'll move us on to dislikes. Peace of mind. That's my dislike. F that gun. That's what I'll say. I hate that gun. Everybody can craft it. When they can craft it, they can. It kills you too fast and it flinches you too much. And no map's big enough. You can't hit it. Like, it was killing me at DMT ranges because no maps really have sightlines big enough to battle it. And you couldn't fight it with a hand cannon or anything because it flinched you so bad you missed every shot you took. So they got to do something about that gun.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I despise that gun. That is number 2 on my list. Number 1 is always on time. No, wait. No, the pulse rifle you get from the stranger, not stranger's rifle.
Oh yeah.
No time to explain.
Yes, no
That's
time
one.
to explain. That one.
Yeah.
That's number 1 on my list. I'm gonna go to my
Always there when you call. Always on time.
I am not able to get the 60 AE with my palindrome on a hunter. So palindrome at base AE is 21, 15 for Icarus script, and then 20 with Foe Tracer only gets me the 56. So that is...
Does Adept Icarus do anything different than regular Icarus?
Plus 5 handling.
Oh yeah.
Yep. So they both just give the plus 50.
It doesn't do anything with the AE difference wise?
No.
They need to fix that. They need to fix that.
Nope.
If it's an adept weapon, it should get...
Can't do that.
Why?
Because it is locked behind going flawless in trials. To get
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Not palindrome.
No.
That's a nightfall weapon.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Adept Icarus grip.
Yeah, isn't that like can't you get it from GM or
No.
GM
No,
completions or anything?
Icarus is trials only.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
I was thinking of the gun, not the mod.
Yes.
So I guess I would just say get good. If that's the case. I mean, I have it.
Yeah.
If I can get it, anybody else can get it.
Yeah.
This guy.
I do want to force that on the people, but I think this is something that Bungie needs to look at. And what I would want ability to, if somebody uses their exotic to spec into AE and Icarus grip and whatever they have coming in the future, you should be able to get any primary weapon that's legendary to 60. So
What if they do it to where, like, if you don't use an exotic armor piece, it gives you like +10 to AE or something? So like,
But
if I don't use an exotic armor piece, then I get like some sort of buff. And if I don't use an exotic weapon, because it's like that should give you an increase too, because you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by not using either. So it lets you use that to give you like a +5 or a +10 to your AE, like however the math works out.
So to get like the amount of AE that you need, you do have to pair it with the exotic that goes with the weapon. So like right now, Titans get +40 SMG AE with Peacekeepers. So that is the most easiest way to get a primary up that high, and so that's what I want Bungie to look into and fine tune, is just to get every class has the ability to get every legendary weapon to 60.
And I understand what you're saying, but I don't think that you should have to run one particular exotic in order to get above that threshold. To me, that seems kind of like you're really pigeonholing yourself at that point. I think that if, like, for instance, if you make it to where every legendary weapon is at least a +20, and then if you don't have an exotic armor piece, it gives you +20. And if you don't have an exotic weapon, it gives you +20. So bare minimum, if you don't run any exotics, you're at +60 on every legendary. Like, I think it should be something like that. Or if you really want to spec, it's okay to have exotics give you bonuses, but make it to where if you don't wear an exotic, you can increase that. I just think that would be another way, another very easy way for somebody that doesn't want to think a lot or make a build or go run lost sectors for 35 times to get a particular exotic because you're new to the game. If you don't have any exotics armor or any exotic weapon, if you have a legendary, it's going to put you at that 60 level.
Yeah. I do think Bungie's about to add a leg mod that gives you air effectiveness, because now in the leg slot you only have holster mods that's usable in PvP. So I think it just makes sense to me that there's something coming for that. Chap.
All right. I am disappointed. Not angry. I am just disappointed that they stealth nerfed throwing hammers because they don't want people solo one-phasing bosses.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm mad. I'm thoroughly upset.
Yeah.
No, I'm not mad. I said that earlier. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. I am very disappointed. And it's funny too, because people are like, yeah, okay, Tuesday rolls around. Let's get some dungeon runs in and get some practice in. Throw on their synthos, throw on their mods, grab their hammer, grab their glaive, go in, get to the boss, and whop half the damage almost. Mm-hmm. It's like, wait a minute. Yeah, all my debuffs and buffs are right. So they wipe and try again. Whop 133. This ain't right. Go out, go back in, chug the hammer again, make sure they get all that, make sure they kill with the glaive, make sure they pick up the unstable essence, get to the boss, debuff him with tractor, bonk, 133. Yep. They started going to other places, testing it on other bosses, and they're like, yeah. Yep. They hit it. The bonkening is no longer happening. Mm. It's a safe 2-phase if you're already used to throwing that hammer at things. but it was a safe 1 phase. And I'm upset that I didn't take advantage of it while it existed. I was
Do
busy
you think
running Iron Banner and Pinnacles, and I'm upset.
do you think that it should have been? Do you think that it should have been not nerfed? Do you think the nerf? Are you more upset the fact that it was nerfed or the fact that it wasn't communicated?
The nerf. I think because you have to set up to be exactly there. You have to have Synthos. You have to have all the mods correct. You have to pick up orbs. You have to pick up your wells. You have to pick up that unstable essence at the last second, so you have the most amount of time to get out of there and start bonking Galron. And you cannot kill any of the legionaries that are around. You only kill one to reset the roaring flames, but you have to keep enough around that Syntheseps is still active. So like you have to play extremely specifically to make it work out. And I think if someone is doing everything they can to get to that specific level of skill and very specific mods and equipment, I mean, nerf it right before a raid race or disable Syntheseps. I get it. You don't want 6 Titans running up to the raid boss and just bonking it with hammers because they don't even have to pick it up. They can just bonk it, and when the guy next to him throws theirs, it counts as them picking it up. But it's a dungeon, man. Just, come on. Come on. It's upsetting.
I mean, Fox, we can just be serious here. It's somebody can continuously redo the melee ability with no cooldown and do 200 plus DPS per throw is there's no place in the game.
It does not belong.
Yeah.
It does not belong whatsoever.
And it's kind of ridiculous that it held on for this long because that's been around since Forsaken, right? Like Worm Gods.
It keeps getting hit. It continuously gets hit because of the Synthos.
And it got hit before this raid, right? Didn't they disable?
Yeah. They disable Synthos all the time for this exact reason because of the throwing hammer.
I don't know, like that whole build to where you don't even really have to do anything and you just don't die. Like that whole build in itself was a little busted, in my opinion. I mean, it's fun. Don't get me wrong, but it's there's no way that Bungie was working as intended.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder how it got through all those playtest hours.
We all got through our likes and dislikes. If you like it, just sound off in the comments or add us on Twitter about how terrible of the thoughts we come up with, or if you agree with this or not. All right, next up is the weapons.
Hold on. Don't forget, if you leave a 5-star review, we read it. We read it on the show. Yeah. So leave us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think, and we will read it live on the show.
All right, next is the weapons breakdown. We're going to break down the 4 new weapons that is in the dungeon. The opulence weapons, we're going to talk about those next week. So these weapons all had the trait Bitter Spite. While this weapon is equipped, taking damage accelerates the next reload. So that's pretty great. I like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can not care much about the reload speed because you're going to get it just by playing the game. So the first weapon here is Lingering Dread, and it is the Stasis Breach Grenade Launcher. So that's going to be in that first slot, the kinetic slot. For PvE, quick launch, blinding, auto-loading holster, and chill clip. So that means every time you shoot this grenade launcher, it's going to apply slow to the enemies. So there's only one in the mag, so you'll proc and chill clip. This is the first time you've seen this in game, and I think this is a no doubt a must-have. I've only gotten like 1 or 2 of these, and neither one of them has been worth anything. And I was really just trying to hunt this one down. In that last column, there's a couple of things. I mean, you can still go Vorpal or Demolitionist in that last column and work out pretty well in PvE. PvP, you're looking at pretty much pretty close to the same. quick launch, and I would go spike nades, and then again auto loading holster and chill clip. That's just kind of what makes sense to me. I'm going to throw this out, hit somebody with slow, quickly switch to a hand cannon or an SMG, maybe proc kill clip or rampage, and then start going to town. I think it's a pretty easy build to get into and use. Y'all agree, or any thoughts on that?
Yeah, seeing Chill Clip cracks me up on that. I've been having fun with Chill Clip on a fusion in the PvPs and in the PvEs. So I mean I do like blinding, the just firing without having to worry about it with proximity is nice too as an option, because you can just lob it into a group and it will blow up on its own. But the freezing and the blinding all at once is just ridiculous. I haven't gotten one with Chill Clip yet. I think I've only had like 2 drop. But I saw that it was on there and I was hankering for it. I want it real bad.
Yeah.
And thankfully these are not guns you can craft. So you have to go in there and grind your butt off. But you can grind. You can just sit there and blow up Keitel constantly or blow up Galron constantly and keep trying to get some guns. So that's not a big issue. But yeah, I've been waiting for a Chill Clip one of these for everything. So I'm hopeful it'll be soon ish.
We gotta get a Stasis Wayframe next, right? Maybe in the raid we'll get this or something next season. That wouldn't be great. All right. Next up is New Purpose, which is a stasis high impact frame pulse rifle. So think a messenger. It's going to feel a lot like that. So this weapon's recoil direction is 70. So if you slap arrowhead brake on there, you're at that perfect 100. So to me, I'm looking for arrowhead brake in that first column. And then in PvE, armor piercing rounds with perpetual motion or feed and frenzy, whatever one you like the most, with adaptive munitions. And this season, pulse rifles also have anti-barrier. So this is going to shred every single shield in the game. And it's in that first slot, that connect slot. So it doesn't screw up your monochromatic builds that's in your special and heavy slot. I mean, your energy slot and your heavy slot. So I think this is like whenever Arbalest gets hit again with another nerf, because it's still way too popular in Nightfalls, this is something you can potentially fall back to and use to shred shields. And also, I think the other thing, as a true PvE perk, is the headstone in that last column also, if you don't want to adapt with munitions. All right, PvP. This is going to sound a lot like Messenger. So arrowhead brake, ricochet or high caliber, your pick there. Perpetual motion or tunnel vision paired with Desperado. I think it's pretty much almost the exact same thing you could get on Messenger, and that gun is a beast. Desperado got hit a little bit this season with a nerf, but it's still great, and it's very easy to get kills with.
I noticed I was talking about it with our boy Wesley, and he was saying Desperado is not near as good as it was. So he's kind of my PvP go-to as to what's hot in the streets at the moment. So it kind of made me sad because I got one with Desperado out of there. So it kind of bummed me out a little.
Apparently, it's a little bit closer to what Kill Clip is, time to kill wise. So like, it's kind of just.
Which, let's be honest, it was a little excessive on like Redrix and Messenger, especially like if you were playing like 6s.
Yeah.
And like people were these like burnout on 6s, like I would get killed by Desperado really fast, it seemed like sometimes.
All right, next is, guess what? Another Void SMG. This is like the 5th one we have in game. But,
another one.
This one looks super cool, I would have to say. And, the perk combination is pretty nice, especially for PvE. I would go Hammer Forged, and then, I kind of recently fell in love with Failed Magwell for myself just because that increased the reload speed. But this also has a trait that increases your reload speed when you take damage. So if you don't want flared, you could go armor piercing, high caliber, ricochet rounds. Any of those three in that mag column, you're gonna be set up pretty well. And then
what's the name of this SMG, Jared?
Oh, Unforgiven.
There you go.
Yeah, avoid aggressive frame. So, and then the last two columns, you have a great pairing of Demolishness and Adrenaline Junkie for PvE, which I did get one of those, and I've been using it quite a bit since I got it. And I pretty much deleted every other role I've gotten because it doesn't stand up to that role.
Right.
The other perk this has is Repulsor Brace in that last column, which is defeating a void debuff target grants an overshield. And that they just introduced this perk this season. And I think it's a season too late. I think last season I probably would have got a little more usage with the Void 3.0, how great it was at the time, and getting volatile rounds procced. So if you kill something with volatile rounds, this will proc, and you'll get an overshield. But to proc that now, you have to defeat an enemy with a void grenade and have that fragment on.
So I got an Unforgiven with extended barrel, ricochet, tunnel vision, dragonfly, range masterwork, and it's been pretty fun. But it's hard to give up the Shayura's Wrath. I really like that one. That's probably my favorite Void SMG. It's really a shame that we have Shayura's Wrath, the title, Funnel Web, and now this, that we're all Void SMGs. It's almost like somebody at Bungie needs to like get punched. Like they were just asleep at the wheel for this.
And you had the Moon SMG, the waking moment.
I think something moment. I think.
Yeah. So like there's 5.
But
it's ridiculous. Whenever you look for a PvP role with this weapon, it's kind of hard to come up with one whenever the Shayura's Wrath exists, as Fox said. So, I mean, it's pretty much the same. Exactly the same role if I was going to use it in PvE and PvP. So, maybe take Smallbore instead of Hammerfur just for a little more stability to keep it on the head. Because it has a 93 recoil direction, so like it doesn't get much better than that out of the box. So
don't forget Hero's Burden that just came in an Iron Banner this week was also a void SMG.
Oh my gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Oh my
That's
goodness.
so many.
Like, what are they doing?
I think they're just memeing on themselves at this point.
Like, I mean, it has to be like just accidental, right? Like, I mean, there's no way that like I pull up Arc SMGs in my in Dim, and I have the 7th Seraph.
Yep.
And obviously the Ikelos, and then Risk Runner. Like that's all that I've even have in my vault.
And the 7th Seraph from the Ikelos got reissued in the same season, the season of Arrivals.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the other one's an exotic.
Yeah.
And then if I start trying to think about like solar SMGs, I know we got the Gambit one, which is what, like Borrowed Time?
Yeah.
And then we had the one out of the Prophecy Dungeon, which was Death Adder, I want to say.
Yep.
And that's really the only two that I can think of solar-wise.
I mean, Teraba, which is an exotic, but...
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Maybe
which I've been getting like slayed by Teraba and 6s here lately. Have you guys seen that more lately?
Yes. I've seen some of that, and I know that I've yet to do it, but I want to make the Titan build with Peacekeepers and Teraba, because I'm pretty sure you get... I forget what Teraba's base AE is, but I think it's at least in the teens, so you're getting really close to 60 then, if not above it. If it's so, yeah, that's pretty nasty. All right, we have a new crown to dish out, the new king of DPS. The bait and switch Cataclysm has been dethroned. It was around for one season.
R.I.P. I.P.
Storm Chaser has taken its place, and it is a heavy linear fusion rifle, and it's aggressive frame, so that's a 3-round burst. So I'm giving you two PVE roles here. One if you're solo, one if you're with the team. So the team, I like corkscrew barrel here. It just gives you a little bit of everything. And then enhanced battery, that gives you an extra one in the mag. Then clown cartridge or rapid hit, whichever one you like best there with firing line. So firing line gives you that 20% damage boost. And then you can get that quick reload with rapid hit or delay the reload with clown. PvE solo, again, I'm just picking corkscrew, enhanced battery. And then auto-loading holster with either Frenzy or Vorpal. And that is, it's your choosing there. I think Frenzy, if you could keep it procced, it does give the better DPS, gets 5% more damage, and they increase to stability and reload. So this...
Listen, this gun is sick. The best roll I have on it is like Turnabout Vorpal, and it is putting just nutty damage onto anything that I do. And also I played probably, so I have some nephews that are like 12 and 8 or 12 and 7, something like that. And they recently started playing Destiny. So anytime they're on and want to play, I just go into Gambit. And I have been like, invaders that use this weapon can just, I'm pretty sure they can just body shot you and it's a one-shot kill because you get the 3 burst. Because it's like it's never taken 2 Storm Chaser shots to kill me. I'll put it that way. It's only taken 1. Yeah. And it is very effective.
So have you played Gambit with it? How many shots do you get out of a heavy crate?
Gonna be honest, I'm trying to level up my Cataclysmic to level 30 because I have like the Gambit memento in it. Mm-hmm. That way I can get the shader. I think I'm at like 22 or 23 at the moment.
Yeah.
But so I haven't really used it just because I haven't needed to. Like my youngest nephew is the kid that is like that needs like Adderall that just goes over and always gets 3 kills.
Yeah.
And he's like yelling like, "Oh man, he's hiding. Oh man, he's being a baby. He's hiding in the corner." Like he just goes over and just like wipes 3 out of 4 every time at the beginning. So shout out to my dude Owen, going over there because he is just a master invader and really helping me get those 30 wins to gild that title.
Yeah, my role, I got the enhanced battery with well-rounded and firing line. Well-rounded is another new perk added this season. So using your grenade or hitting an enemy with a charged melee attack grants a stack of well-rounded, which increases your weapon stability, handling, and range. So, I mean, it's okay perk in that third column. Definitely not one of the ones we mentioned before, but firing line, man, it's just, I feel like, I think it was like 270,000 with a 3-round burst on Caretaker when somebody has div on.
Yep.
And it's quite ridiculous.
Chad, what role do you have in this weapon?
Don't be a jerk.
Well, at least Chad has the exotic sword. Do you got that catalyst yet, Chad?
No.
He's waiting for us.
Okay, you might be waiting.
He's being a good CCB and waiting for us to come through.
Yep. All right, that does it for weapons. Right now, next week is the opulence weapons, and if I remember their quick draw snapshot, beloveds, and is that still the road to chase, or is it not? You'll find out next week. All right, next up, Gambling Corner. Fox, why don't you go ahead and take us through what happened last week?
All right, so last week we did, I believe we did an anti-bet of basically who would guess after the podcast, we did a dungeon run and who would guess the closest to that dungeon run. I think I bet like an hour and 10 or an hour and 11 minutes. Which one of you guys were the closest at the end?
Jared was me, yeah.
Jared was him.
Jared in his third person was the closest. So our run was 36 minutes and 35 seconds. I'm pretty sure we one-phased every single boss all the way throughout the dungeon in that run, which I totally did not expect. I was embarrassed that I thought it would take us almost double the time that it did, like really close to double the time that it did. So I spoke with Mr. Vegas, the F-bot, the Moon Wizard, this week, and what we decided would be everybody's going to ante 1,500 Glimmer, and whoever gets the highest wins, and the bet is going to be who will land the highest base overall stat point piece of armor, no mods, no masterworks, from the time of this podcast ends until 9:30 Eastern next Thursday, which is whenever we all hop on to the voice chat. So who's going to get the highest stat roll piece of armor? So how do you guys feel about your chances?
You've set me up to fail.
So I'm talking
You're
into
trapping me.
here to get it on there. It matters on what you play and what you have unlocked at the thing at the helm, right?
Right.
I can't.
What's your guys' season pass ranks at the moment? I think I'm like 93 or 94.
I think I'm 67.
I'm at 105, I think.
Jeez, Jared.
Yep.
Slacker.
Dude, I'm not crazy about what has really been going on this season with the loot grind. And because I know that I just have to wait till later in the season to easily get the red borders, because that's when you unlock the easiest ways to get it. So I just don't have motivation right now.
I personally am just trying to get to GM Nightfall level, and then I'm going to slow down, I believe.
Yeah. Maybe I actually have time this weekend to just sit and just grind the game, grind bounties and stuff. But it's for some reason this high stat armor. I know that if you do the prophecy, that the end of that drops a high stat armor, and that you could probably go back to last season and grab a couple pieces of armor that it's got a high stat roll that you can focus in the helm. And not to mention Prime Ingram still drops a good one. So I just RNG, and right now that's in Chad's favor. So I'm leaning. I think Chad's gonna
Hey,
win.
no. Get that out of here. Get that nonsense out of here. I do not believe in myself whatsoever. But I hope that Ryan loses also.
So this is any piece of armor, right? So that means if we get an exotic to drop and it drops 70.
Yeah, he just said armor.
You're guaranteed win because legendaries can't get that high.
Yep, something.
Yep.
Yeah, it sounds like a ton of fun. Super excited.
I'm gonna forget and just delete it. I know that's what's gonna happen. It's gonna turn into 3 legendary shards. Is what it's gonna turn into. All right. Next up is Laura and Chad. What do you got for us going on this week?
Well, today we are talking about the Eidolon armor lore, the moon armor, the stuff you get from the crown and doing stuff on the Leviathan. Like I said, next week we're probably going to talk a little bit about Vuvuzela, my big boy, the Titan Vanguard. And I know that Ryan is definitely not going to fall asleep during that talk, but we're getting a little bit more into his story, and I like that very much. It gives you more backstory into why he is who he is and the decisions that he makes and has made since we've known him the last couple of years. But the Eidolon armor is basically lore from all the armor sets and then the ghost at the end, following Eris and her search for the truth and what's going on currently. So the first one starts, and it's 1. You are seen. Savathun is rigid and lifeless beneath the edge of Eris's scalpel as it begins a Y incision. With each careful removal of chitin plate, she expects the Witch Queen's muscles to shudder, her eyes to roll open, her claws to cleave Eris's in twain as retaliation. Rigid, lifeless, nothing to fear. Below the skull, protected by plated scale and fraying hive enchantment, Eris sees the symbol of the Witch Queen. She peels back muscle and shaves away surrounding tissue for a clearer view of the faded mark etched into Savathun's encephalon organ with Soulfire script. Only then does she see the embellishments adorning the mark. They bring to mind the runic symbols carved into the crown of sorrow. She catalogs the embellishments on a datapad, noting the similarities before continuing her examination, confident in her initial findings regarding a link to the crown. A link to the crown, a lock many have tried to pick. Now Eris holds the key from the mind of Savathun herself. 2. You are held. Eris Morn chalks the floor in the helm wing previously inhabited by the servitor of the Elixni Splicers. A liberated tomb ship drones beside her. Through the open shielded hangar of the Leviathan is visible as a malformed knot, its shape bulging from the shadowed outline of the moon. Ikora descends the stairs, an ornately dressed warlock Thanatonaut follows, their robes trimmed in bone and elaborately stitched symbols. Did you commandeer this from Mars? Ikora asks with a smile, looking over the hive vessel. Eris stands. It provided ample shielding for transporting the crown from its vault. It's here? Now? The Thanatonaut asks, breaking his stride at the bottom of the stairs. Worry not, the helm will disembark from the city to ensure the crown is contained, Eris answers. Keep that tomb ship docked here in case we need to jettison the crown. Last thing I need is a rookie shooting you down in it. Ikora steps past the Thanatonaut with a reassuring nod. Tell us what you're thinking next, Eris. Eris gestures toward the open bay door. The Leviathan is at our doorstep. Even if we unravel Callus's plan, the ship itself poses a threat simply by its size. Callus does not require paracausal power to cause an extinction-level event. Callus's interest appears to be focused solely on the pyramid, Ikora interjects. Should that change, Zavala assures me that Keidel's fleet will provide ample dissuasive firepower. Eris nods in rhythm with Ikora's well-reasoned words. I trust that to be true. However, whatever connection Callus has established is drawing nightmares and phantoms alike to the Leviathan. He is able to exert influence over them, but I believe we can disrupt this connection. She points to the Thanatonaut. You, she says and motions toward 3 chalked spots on the floor. Here, here, and here. We will require death anchors to tether the ritual. Hold your mind on the floor as you think long as you can. I will craft the sigils required to contain the crown. Then we will need volunteers. 3. You are hallowed. You've had this for years and never thought to mention it. Eris runs her fingers over the grime-clouded containment glass housing a large growth of egregore within the Drifter's derelict. Wasn't hiding it. Drifter rolls Eris's Ahamkara over his knuckles. Ain't nobody ever asked. Hell, you've walked by it before, Moondust. What wonders you must have buried in this heap, Eris muses. The emerald shine of her eyes dart back and forth between thin cloth. I could, Drifter saunters up beside her, give you the tour. We haven't the time. Tell me, what have you learned from this egregore sample? Drifter wrinkles his face and looks up at the massive contained growth. Eris massages annoyance from her brow. She sees the playful coyness in his eyes, the hidden information he holds as bargain for some trade. Do you at least remember where you found it? Sister, you don't want to know. Eris locks her eyes on the Drifter's face. He staggers back awkwardly and shrugs. I see little nothing in the middle of nowhere. Doesn't have a name, and you don't want to go there alone. But you could take me. Eris tests his defenses. Drifter brushes off the mottled fur of his shoulder guards and leans against a poorly fashioned railing. Only if we take your jump ship, and I drive. Eris sighs and pushes through him. No. Drifter springs after her. So that's it? You're leaving? You're being evasive, rat. Eris plucks her Ahamkara from his hand and stows it beneath her cloak. Contact me when you're willing to speak plainly. Drifter calls after her, hands outstretched. You don't want to stay for dinner? Eris halts, considering what disgusting amalgamation of refuse would constitute a meal here. She glances over his shoulder. One last attempt to extract information. It is strange, when Savathun drew Mars back into our space, it was free of the egregore, but the Glycon and Leviathan both returned rampant with fungal growth. Why? She asks. He gives in. You know, it sings if you burn it just right. Drifter thumbs behind him. Subsonic. Resonates in a funny way with pyramid tech. Is that so? You don't trust me? For you are led. Elsie is not at camp in Beyond, perhaps another time, but Eris emerges from Transmat to see the Drifter alone, interrogating Elsie's strange, floating companion. Well, what are you? Drifter points at the thing with distrust. Leave it be. The ziggurat awaits our experiment, Eris says, saddling a mostly materialized sparrow and blasting off into snow across the frozen European flats. And don't touch my stuff, she hears Drifter shout at the thing as he follows after her. Frigid sleet stings Eris's face red atop the ziggurat. It is a welcome sensation compared to the prickling numbness that sticks her fingers. She grips a harvested stalk of the egregore fungus tightly in one gloved hand, in the other, a hot flare disgorges plumes of jade smoke. She lights the stalk at both ends according to Drifter's instruction. Ashes, spores furl into dense clouds that envelop her body, obscuring her sight in soot-black shroud until it blocks out all else. Faint whispers. A choral swell through turbulent winds. Tone that forms words across the surface of her mind. You hear it? Drifter asks. His voice whispers outside her awareness. The ziggurat resonates like a tuning fork. The vibrations themselves take shape within the smoke, and Eris is drawn toward somewhere distant and empty. She follows, and the smoke swirls with points of color like stars, separated by lonely rifts of black expanse. Echoes radiate from the black deep like graviton ripples through space. They wash distortion over the stars until breaking against 4 other points, 2 greater, 2 weaker, ghostly strands of incorporeal egregore between them. She then sees the pyramids of Europa, Luna, and Savathun's throne world as one, their structures melding and overlapping, their connections cauterize in her mind like a vivid memory. Eris blinks and the sensation is gone. The stalk is ash in her hand. 5. You are bound. You want to go where? Drifter's jumps idles roughly behind him, the engine misfiring and clattering loudly as if ready to explode. Eris' ship purrs next to it in contrast. There's connection between the points of darkness, signals passing back and forth to something beyond. Eris steps closer so her voice carries over the engine noise. The other pyramids may provide more context. The Drifter clicks his tongue and raises his eyebrow. Sounds a mite dangerous with a Big Daddy Callus parking right over the moon. Seems off limits. Yes, but the Guardian leads raiding parties into Rook's pyramid in Savathun's throne world. We will use that distraction. And with that, Eris shoulders through him and trudges to her ship. Come, rat. Can we eat first? Explosions thunder within the throne world's pyramid as Eris and Drifter establish a camp in the sunken bog where miasma meets the pyramid's approach. The massive ship eclipses them, towering in fog, the extent of its edges unknown to their eyes. Drifter's face is stern, clenched with tension as Eris has seldom seen. Trust in one hand, fist full of stasis in the other. Eris sets a cloth-wrapped stalk of egregore upon a pyramid shard jutting from the stinking swamp. She unwraps and neatly spreads the corners of the cloth before noticing the Drifter's footsteps behind her. Something's watching us, Drifter mutters. He turns to his altered ghost and whispers softly, enough to convince himself that Eris cannot hear him. Keep your eye on her, eh? Then louder. I'm gonna look around, make sure that hotshot hero didn't miss any screebs. The Drifter's altered ghost emits a single elongated tone in acknowledgement, and then focuses on Eris. Germaine. He stops. Eris knows his concern bellies a nobility that he often attempts to suppress in favor of the persona of the Drifter. It is a ruddy shield, but she has seen the true him hidden under that layer of grime. May I have a light? You got it. He discharges a solar round from his truss that sparks on the pyramid floor and ignites the egregore stalk. Back in a flash. Eris watches him disappear into the swamp, then focuses on pluming egregore. Eris sits exhausted on a warm cushion in the dirt, The drifter stands over a hazardously large fire, scooping some sweet-smelling funk of a stew from a cauldron-like vessel of hive design. Her face scrunches as he places a chunky bowl of thick, grayish pottage in her hands. "What did you find?" Drifter asks, slurping from his bowl. Eris tests the temperature and flavor of his food against her lips. It is something like a stinking brine cheeses Akora had given her on the last visit to the city, but with earthy depth beneath. Her face curls and she opts instead for conversation. "I was right. They are connected, but now I only have more questions." "You ask me. That's how these things go. Better leave well enough alone and head home," Drifter says, slurping another mouthful. The egregore connects points of darkness, resonates with pyramid constructs, but I cannot decipher their communications. Still, the Lunar Pyramid, the European Pyramid, and the Glycon and Leviathan all converse with the same distant point. What Rolk spoke of, so does Callus. It is gravely concerning. "Wild," Drifter says with a whistle. He shakes his head and looks at her full bowl. "You gonna eat that?" Eris wonders if he heard her correctly, but knows repeating herself is an exercise in futility. "What is this exactly?" "Pretty damn tasty is what it is. First time I got it right. Thought you'd appreciate some cooking for you since you, well, you're awful at it." "Rat, what are you feeding me?" She remembers his hunt earlier in the day and her stomach turns. Eris stares at the drifter, mouth agape in a half-heaved gag, her thoughts racing over things he's claimed to have consumed. "You cooked me rotted screebs?" "What?" Drifter chokes on the stew and coughs. "I wouldn't feed you that, moon dust." He laughs. "You never had crawdad stew?" He holds his bowl to his lips, "or a close cousin to it," he adds underneath his breath. "Little swamp shrimps, you dig? It's delicacy." Eris reels her imagination in, takes a breath, and sips the broth without taking her eyes from the drifter. The liquid fills her crumpled stomach with hearty warmth. She feels her stress melt away. The stew's flavor is far more pleasing than its smell. She smiles and drinks again. "Thank you. It is good." And then after that adventure, we move to the Ghost. And the Ghost is a log again from the Hidden. And we're getting a lot of the Hidden this year. It looks like we're going to be talking to them quite a bit with Ikora at the forefront there. So it says, "Cameron, I read the report you sent to link established between the Leviathan and the pyramids. Some of those details are alarming. It concerns me, that's for sure. There's almost a direct one-to-one transaction correlation between data leaving the Leviathan, a great deal of it, mind you, and psychoactive pyramid projections we're seeing flooding into the Leviathan. If that's true, the material destabilizations we're seeing from the Leviathan, the pyramid may be the source of all of it. Do we have an updated ETA on the Leviathan spectral analysis from the helm? That might give us some additional answers. 45% of the analysis remains. Not surprising, though. The Leviathan is quite large. In the meantime, we should contact Lab C for updates on EG-999. I'm curious to see what, if any, connection exists to the pyramid. I've got some bad news there. The analysis can't be completed." "What? Why?" "Safety protocols repeated containment breaches. All Earthside lab samples of the egregore fungus were incinerated. But a certain hidden contact, Eris Morn, has informed me that the fungus is similar to a synapse within a nervous system. She claims it is a physical manifestation of the darkness, like stasis. But unlike stasis, it appears to be an impure manifestation. Her words, not mine. There are a lot of implications there. Morn never delivers a lack of implications with her theories. In any case, I suggest we make a note and move on for now. Our best path to understanding is still a spectral analysis on the signals Leviathan is throwing out and deciphering their meaning." Now, at this point, with the Sever missions and the story going through as it is, it's good to have this backstory of what Eris is currently doing. But the Leviathan is a little bit upsetting, and I'll talk about that more once the season is kind of over. That way I have all because the robots that you talk to is Callus talking to you, and he gives you a lot of information because it's you, because you're the shadow that he was going to have and all that kind of information. But we're seeing that now that the egregore is definitely 100% linked to the darkness in a way that's similar to stasis. And stasis was gifted to us from the pyramid on the moon. So we'll see what kind of connections are there. Hopefully next week we'll have some good Zavala story and I can talk about that and some other stuff. But I guess Jermaine might be the drifter's name. I read that and I'm like, ooh, spicy, because he stopped. He stopped in his tracks when she said the name.
When you say Jermaine, it just makes me think back to a kid and like the Nike Shocks that was out, and you had the Jermaine O'Neills. That was like
The Jermaine O'Neills, man. Yeah, black and yellow.
Yep.
Those were incredible Nike Shocks.
Mm-hmm.
I had a pair as well. Big Jermaine O'Neil guy back in my early teens.
All right, I think it's time to move on to the mailbag. So, first question here: what is the most loaded weapon class in the game currently? Does this mean like the most powerful weapon class, or like the one with the most abundance?
I thought it was the one with the most abundance, but if you guys thought it meant something else, then we can go that way with it as well.
We'll just go with the most
I thought abundance as well.
Okay, abundance. Oh.
Besides void SMGs and 140 hand cannon.
I think that's the two
Right.
most. Is it pulse rifles? I think there's like we've gotten like tons of pulse rifles the last like 3 seasons though too.
Yeah, it seems like there's also a lot of exotic pulse rifles between like Vigilance Wing and what's the void one that shoots through the dimension.
Graviton?
Graviton Lance and No Time to Explain. And then you have
run. That's
corrective
that's
measure.
4.
Yep. So
and
there's
the one you hit fire.
It's gotta be
probably
140 hand cannons.
SMGs, 140s, and then pulse rifles.
Like,
I think
from the weapon archetypes, like as the firing rate, because you could say void SMGs, but I think some of them are different, like firing speeds, right?
Yes.
Right.
When it comes to 140 hand cannons, like there's a ton of just 140 hand cannons, like tons of exotics, tons of legendaries, and like they just keep coming out.
What?
Like at least with like pulse rifles and stuff, it's like, oh, this one hits, this one shoots slower, this one's this RPM, this one's this RPM, but it's like, no, we're only giving you 140 hand cannons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's part of the reason they took away the 150s. That's kind of why there's so many of them though too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Question 2. Have y'all noticed the spores floating around throughout the helm? This combined with the official Destiny picture of the helm being overcome by darkness make me think of the lack of decontamination when arriving in the helm is going to be an issue. So I guess
like I just read,
yeah,
there's 2 things here. Like I just read, we can jettison the crown at any time and the spores, or just drop the helm into the sun and call it a day.
Yeah.
Right.
But they're referencing the picture from the silver bundle where you get the emote and the silver, and it shows you in the war table section, like the middle section, main area of the helm, with the spores and like the plants actually in that area. I saw that too, and I'm like, oh, like that area is clear, like there's no plants there. And then running in and out back and forth, I'm like, well, there is this little cleansing spot, but like people are trying to attribute it similar to like Season of the Lost, how like the bridge was very slowly being built over the season. And I'm like, yeah, it'd be neat. I mean, it'd be really cool because like we're not on Earth, so we would safely be able to dispose of the helm if needed. Would be sad, but we can have a helm 2.0 that's being built currently just in case. So it's not like it's gone forever.
Right. And I think it's unlikely that we lose the helm because it's kind of they built a new like lead up like loading screen into the helm. And then they've used that the past year and a half to kind of branch off into the seasonal content. But saying that, there was a guy that I saw on Twitter that whenever he landed in the helm, it put him into a public event for containment while he was on the helm. Now, that very easily could be some sort of game glitch that occurred to where like he came from the Leviathan to the helm. or it could be some sort of code. You know, Destiny has a lot of spaghetti code. Remember when you could get the Dreadnought to appear as your load screen a couple years ago? If you did like a certain sequence of things. So I don't know. It seems weird that we have the spores. The seasonal activity is spores. So maybe we get a fight on the helm, but the helm's not quite big enough to really fight on. So maybe another area opens, or it could have been a Photoshop picture. Like, who knows? But I imagine that the helm will be overrun, and we'll find some magical way to get rid of it, and then it'll be back to normal next season. Question 3.
The drifter
sorry,
ship
Chad,
has
go
been
ahead, man.
covered in that stuff for how long? And it hasn't infected anybody else yet.
I think you mean Jermaine.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, Jermaine.
Question 3. Are there too many weapons each season to get the patterns into craft? We're like right on the line, in my opinion. I still have 2 raid weapons. I still need to get Submission in the Lubre's Ruin. I still need to get Pointed Inquiry from last season, Peace of Mind from last season, and then this season I have like Allstringer, Beloved, Drang, and Callous Mini Tool. And I play like to 250 season pass levels typically, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I play more than the average person, so it's probably more than what should be there in my opinion.
Yeah. But, you know, if we didn't have as many seasonal weapons, then people would be complaining about the lack of loot. So I think we are there. I just have issues with crafting in itself, and I think that's, you know, that's not a mailbag question. That's like probably almost like half of an episode us discussing how we would change that. But yeah, it feels a little overwhelming to me right now how many weapons I need to unlock and craft, because I don't want to be left behind.
And it's crazy too, because a lot of them are like 5 stacks of deep sights you need to do. In this season, that means you need to get exactly like there's 6 and 6, right? So that's each of those times 5, and like you can get doubles if you're running chests and stuff. There needs to be a lockout for the specific weapon seasonal stuff that you can craft to get deep sights, because I know I'm gonna get doubles of raid weapons. I'm gonna get doubles of all these things, and I'm like, I can't, like, I'm still at 1 grenade launcher, and I haven't gotten a single raid SMG yet. Red.
Are you talking about explosive personality or forbearance on the grenade
Sorry,
launcher?
I'm talking about the raid weapons right now.
Forbearance.
Like,
so forbearance and then submission is the SMG, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've gotten 1 forbearance and no submission red borders at all whatsoever, ever. And yes, I can pick them, but like I got to get Cataclysmic. I want to get the fusion rifle, and I just barely finished those. Like I just got my last Cataclysmic last week, and that raid's been out since the start of last season.
Right.
And I just got to my 5th one when I could pick it. I finished all the seasonal weapons last season because you could pick them. Like from pretty early on in the season, you could get this one gives me like my first pick of a weapon gives me a red weapon every week, and I can just go pink, pink, and then just go down the line. And me being the guy that has to check off boxes, I hate it because I'm gonna craft a bunch of guns and use up material for guns that I'm not gonna use just to go check on a box.
Right.
And it sucks, but man, whatever.
I feel like the spoils of conquest or whatever those things are called, they're getting a little greedy with those, in my opinion. I feel like if I run a raid start to finish and get both secret chests, I should be able, no matter what, to pull a red bordered weapon. What is it, 20 spoils you have to spend?
Yeah.
And now I'm always in between like 18 and 33 or whatever the weird number is.
Mm.
Because now if you run those old raids, you don't get 5, you only get 3.
Yep.
Or 2 or whatever. So they really need to. It's weird how the more Bungie tries to change, the more they stay the same. Like they're like, oh, we try to be more welcoming to new players and make things easier to get. And then they'll do all this stuff for the front end of the game and then make the back end of the game like punish people that are at that point. So I wish that they could find that middle ground and stay in it personally.
I think it'd be a nice touch if they bring those 5 weapons down to 3 or 4, depending on like seasonal weapons.
Yeah, like do we really need
4.
to get 5 red bordered weapons? Is that not slightly like in the raid? Is that not a little bit like too much?
Yeah, I guess the argument is like that's 6 months. That's a 6-month content thing, or technically even a year of like you should be doing that almost once a week or so, until the next raid comes out.
But I mean I guess, but it just I don't know. It doesn't feel good whenever
It does feel
whenever I finish the raid that week and I have 18 out of 20 spoils to buy a red border weapon that I need, and I've ran it from start to finish. I'm not just running boss checkpoints. You know what I mean? Like that just doesn't feel right in my opinion. Either that or you need to be able to get spoils because they have spoils tied to like the exotic kiosk.
Yeah.
Like they need to get like if you complete the pinnacle for the for the playlist activities, or like every pinnacle that you acquire should give you spoils or something. They need to make them more abundant or make you get more every time you get spoils.
Maybe just throw them into the dungeon. You can earn them through the dungeon too, because that's an in-game PvE activity. So that, or maybe maybe some nightfalls or something. All right, question 4. I want to come on the show and interview with you. How can I make this happen?
So ironically, we've had 2 people reach out that want to come on the show and do interviews. So we have to try to figure out how to make our Discord. So Jared's our OBS guy for Discord, and we got to figure out how to get 4 webcams instead of 3 on here. That's going to be thing number 1, and then trying to get it set up. And do we want him to be on the whole show from start to finish? Do we want to bring him on as a segment? So we got to kind of figure some stuff out. But if you guys have anybody that you think would be a good fit for us, just tag them in like a Twitter message at Destiny CC Pod with us, and let us know. And we'd love to have people on. We think that's kind of where we're going next, as a way to add to the show, is to have like in kind of like a Sunday conversation segment, to where we do like a long form interview for like 15 or 20 minutes, or maybe 10 to 15 minutes, depending upon what's going on, and just get other people in the community involved and kind of out to you guys that we like. So if you have anything like that, tweet those people that you'd like to see on, let them know that you want them to come on, and that'll really help us whenever we reach out.
Yeah, if you DM at Destiny CC Pod on Twitter, one of us will see that DM at some point, because we all have the notification on our phones. So like it's a really high probability that you'll get a hold of one of us that way. All right, question 5.
What they said.
Which companion apps do you recommend? I use Dim, and that is it. And I use like LightGG to look up weapons.
Yeah,
So I use,
Dim.
Yeah, go ahead, Chad. Sorry, buddy.
Dim is the one I use. I use the Bungie one only so I can read the TWAB on Thursdays while I'm at work. But yeah, it also lets you look up some other stuff pretty easily, like lore related things and stuff like that. But Dim is the one I use, make loadouts on, do all kinds of nonsense on. it has a lot of really good resources there that they've been working on for a long time.
Dim is number one. I have that set as my Steam browser or homepage. So whenever I hit Shift Tab, that pulls up my dim for me. I use light.gg. I think Jared mentioned that one to look at the weapons and possible roles. I used to use like Ishtar Collector or Ishtar Commander. One of those is Destiny 1 and one of those is Destiny 2. That's what I used to use when I played console because I could do it from my smartphone, and it was nice. Light GG or no, what is the other one? Is it Light GG or Little Light? That was another cell phone app that was good, and what separated it from the others was that it gave possible weapon rolls. Rage Report is a website that you can use to kind of check out you or anybody else that you look up their like how many rage they have and their fastest times, and if they've done day ones, week ones, or time trials or low man runs of those. Dungeon Report does the same for dungeons, and really that's probably most of the things other than what is it, Wasted on Destiny, to where you can get on there and see how much time you
wasted on
spent
Destiny
in the game. Yeah, and that's the last time I checked. It was like 7,000 hours, which put me at like 3 hours a day since the game released, and I felt really bad about myself once I saw that. So if you want to feel bad about yourself, you can check that website out. All right, I think that takes us to the end of the show. Does anybody have anything to add?
Did you have an Iron Banner question we have to address at all?
Yeah. There was one question. I thought we would get to it in the rundown, but we did not. So we'll throw it in as question 6. We rarely have a question 6, so thank you for your service, Dark Queso. And he says, how do you guys feel about Iron Banner this season compared to previous seasons? And what weapons were you chasing? What weapons, as somebody who recently came back to the game, should I be looking at from Iron Banner?
To me, the one weapon I keep a lookout for on the roll is Reese Walker, and I was getting the hip fire grip Iron Reach roll. I really want that to just lead into it, not having the ADS with it. The change of Iron Banner, took me a while to warm up to it, and it took me about 5 or 6 games to get into the objective type of thought, and to really start playing with my teammates and supporting them instead of just trying to go win my ones.
I think out of the 3 of us, I spent the most time in it because I Iron Lorded the title already. Late Monday night with Mr. Not Ryan. There's is my little helper in my backpack helping me out, killing some stuff, picking him up. So I enjoyed it. It was a nice change of pace, and whether that really leaned into how I feel about it, it might have pushed my bias quite a lot. Simply because it being a change is nice. We'll see how it is the second week when it comes back around, if I really enjoy it very much. But yeah, like Jared said, that Reese Walker with the reach is good. I got 37 iron engrams waiting for me to pick up and figure out what I want to do with them. But I mean there's so many void SMGs, and then the Wizened Rebuke is good. I'm not super excited about it, but it's good. So I might just pick all those up and just cash them in for free instead of focusing, but we'll see.
So I played, I got, 18 games, finished all the pinnacles for one character. And I completed all pinnacles on 2 characters plus a couple extra games before I switched over. So I would say that conservatively, I played 40 games of Iron Banner last week. And keep in mind, I did not play either Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So I was like, I don't really like how Iron Banner's only 2 weeks and I'm never going to get the title. And man, I had an absolute blast playing an Iron Banner. It wasn't like new raid like fun, but it was like the most fun I've had in Crucible in a while. I was able to play some games with Chad. I played some games with my brother-in-law who was on, and my brother-in-law isn't like the greatest slayer. Whenever it comes to games, I'm not the greatest slayer, but we both know how to play objectives. So we knew when to push, when to fall back. And then, the both of us teamed up with Chad for probably 7 or 8 games one evening and just had a good time. And it was a nice change of pace. I did play a few games with Jared, and Jared was getting aggravated. Whenever I played with him, he was MFing Iron Banner in the few games that I was there. So Jared, I think, had a lot more fun in the freelance playlist than he did in the regular playlist. But I mean, overall, I like, Iron Banner, in my opinion, never should have been anything that was light level enabled. I much preferred the pinnacles to be play X number of games as opposed to kill people above your power level with abilities and those goofy ass pinnacles that we had prior. So overall, I'm encouraged, but there's always work to do. The new map felt like the biggest map with the smallest lanes that's ever been made, in my opinion. So, we need more maps. That's definitely my thought process.
Yeah, that's
All right. Nobody has anything to add to that? All right. Well, I'm going to let these other two guys sign off. But before we do that, make sure you follow us on Twitter at DestinyCCPod. Click the bell, turn on notifications, follow us on Twitter, YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, and all those other things. And make sure that you tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yeah, weird things is going on in the Destiny universe right now. I mean, Chad's having the best RNG out of the 3 of us. So just watch yourselves. Make sure stuff doesn't start vanishing out of your vault. Like, weird things don't start happening. Like, your kill trackers get reset or stuff like that. So just keep a close eye out. Something's weird in the universe right now.
It's true. What he said is true. But we're having a really good time learning backstory for some people. If you haven't played the story Sever mission this week, definitely do it. It gives some really good insight into our fearful leader, Vuvuzela. And next week is going to be his closure, so it'll be a lot of fun. I'm very excited to get that, and we also get a little cinematic this week for good old Titan Boy. So it get even more story there. So I'm very excited to see what's coming up for him next week.
Go Cats. Love you guys.